The orbital defense platforms around Earth fell silent one by one, their massive railguns ceasing their thunderous barrage against the alien fleet. Captain Marcus Reed watched from the bridge of the Defiance, humanity's last functioning warship, as the enemy vessels, sleek, chitinous craft that seemed to absorb light itself, descended through the atmosphere like black rain. "Sir, we're receiving final transmissions from New Geneva, Tokyo Dome, and the Australian territories," reported Lieutenant Torres, her voice steady, despite the tears streaming down her face. They're gone, sir. All of them." Marcus gripped the command rail tighter, his knuckles white. In the span of 6 months, the Devourers had swept through human space like a plague, consuming entire worlds. Not conquering, consuming. They left nothing behind but stripped rock and vacuum where thriving colonies once stood. Earth was their final target, and humanity's last 3 billion souls huddled in underground shelters, waiting for the inevitable. "How many ships do we have left?" Marcus asked. 17 fighters, 8 corvettes, and us," replied Commander Hayes from the tactical station. The enemy fleet numbers in the thousands. The Devourers had arrived from beyond the galactic rim, their technology decades ahead of humanity's. Best efforts. Their ships regenerated damage, their weapons carved through Earth's finest armor plating like tissue paper, and their hunger seemed infinite. Every military strategist, every scientist, every desperate plan had failed. Humanity was hours away from extinction. "Sir," Torres interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission from the Deep Space Monitoring Station at Proxima. It's Dr. Kim." Marcus straightened. Dr. Elena Kim had been leading a skeleton crew at the research outpost, supposedly working on some theoretical project when the invasion began. Most assumed she was dead. The Devourers had scoured every system within 50 light years. Put her through. The holographic display flickered, revealing a woman in her 50s with wild gray hair and eyes that burned with fierce determination. Behind her, Marcus could see banks of equipment he didn't recognize. "Marcus, thank God you're alive," Elena said, her voice crackling through the subspace interference. "Listen carefully. I don't have much time. The Devourers aren't what we think they are. They're not conquerors or even a natural species. They're a weapon, a self-replicating doomsday device created by something else, something that died out eons ago. Elena, the entire planet is under attack. Whatever you've discovered." "They have a weakness," she interrupted. "Every weapon has a failsafe, and I found theirs. But I need you to buy me time. There's a pattern, in their quantum signatures, a resonance frequency that causes their ships to destabilize. I can broadcast it, but I need 18 hours to configure the array." Marcus looked at the tactical display. 18 hours. His remaining fleet wouldn't last 18 minutes against what was coming. "We have a problem, Elena. We don't have 18 hours. Elena's expression hardened. "Then you'll have to make them. The entire human race is counting on it." The transmission cut out as the first wave of Devourer ships entered Earth's atmosphere. Marcus turned to his crew, seeing the same desperate resolve in their eyes that he felt burning in his chest. "All ships, this is Admiral Reed," he announced, promoting himself in what might be humanity's final hour. "We're going to buy Dr. Kim the time she needs. Today, we don't fight for victory, we fight for tomorrow." The battle for Earth raged across 3 fronts simultaneously. Marcus led the orbital defense, using the planet's gravity well and the debris field from destroyed stations as cover. Below, the last of Earth's ground-based defense systems unleashed everything they had, painting the sky with tracer fire and missile contrails. But it was in the deep space between Earth and Luna where the real miracle unfolded. Commander Hayes had taken 8 volunteer pilots and their fighters on what everyone understood to be a suicide mission. Their objective wasn't to win. It was to confuse the enemy long enough for Dr. Kim to complete her work. Using a tactic that would have been considered insane under normal circumstances, they flew directly into the heart of the Devourer formation, targeting not the ships themselves, but the mysterious black substance that connected them in vast, web-like networks. "This is Ghost Leader," Hayes reported over the comm. "The connections between their ships. They're not just communication links. They're sharing processing power, like a distributed computer network. If we can disrupt enough nodes..." Her fighter vanished in a burst of crimson energy, but not before her tactical data reached the Defiance. Marcus stared at the readings, his mind racing. The Devourers weren't just ships, they were components of a vast artificial intelligence, each vessel a neuron in an enormous mechanical brain. Torres, relay this to Dr. Kim immediately, Marcus ordered. And get me a direct line to General Morrison in the Rockies. Minutes later, the grizzled face of Earth's last military commander appeared on screen. Behind him, Marcus could see the concrete walls of NORAD's deepest bunker. Morrison here. We've got maybe 6 hours before they break through our final perimeter. General, I need you to do something that's going to sound insane, Marcus said. I need you to surrender. The silence stretched for several seconds. Come again, Admiral. Not really surrender. Make them think we're surrendering. Dr. Kim believes these things are components of an AI system. If we can make them pause their attack, make them think they've won, it might give her the time she needs. Morrison's weathered face showed no emotion. You want me to bet the human race on a theory? I want you to bet the human race on hope, General. It's all we have left. 2 hours later, Earth's defense networks went dark. The underground shelters stopped broadcasting. Even the orbital platforms ceased their desperate fire. To the Devourer fleet, it appeared that humanity had finally broken. The effect was immediate. The alien ships slowed their advance, their formation tightening as they approached the apparently defeated planet. Marcus watched from the Defiance, hidden in the shadow of a destroyed orbital platform, as the Devourers began their final approach. Dr. Kim, please tell me you're seeing this, he whispered into his comm. I see it, Marcus. Elena's voice came back, filled with barely contained excitement. They're consolidating their network, bringing all ships into optimal range. Their collective processing power is increasing exponentially, but that also means they're all connected, Marcus finished. If your theory is right, and you can disrupt the right frequency, the entire network crashes at once. I know, Marcus. I know. Just give me 4 more hours. 4 hours. Marcus looked at his instruments. The Devourers would reach Earth's surface. In 2. That's when the impossible happened. From Luna Base, which everyone had assumed was destroyed, came a transmission that changed everything. Earth Command, this is Colonel Jake Morrison, Luna Base Actual. We're still here, we're still fighting, and we've got something you need to see. The transmission included tactical data that made Marcus's blood run cold. The Devourers hadn't been randomly consuming planets. They'd been gathering mass, converting it into additional ships. And now, with Earth in their grasp, they were preparing to construct something massive in Earth's orbit. A gateway. Dr. Kim, Marcus called urgently. Change of plans. We don't have 4 hours. We have maybe 1 before they bring reinforcements from wherever they came from. Elena's response was immediate. Then we go with what we have. All ships, all stations, all remaining defense platforms. I need you to target these exact coordinates and fire everything you've got at exactly 14:32 Zulu time. Elena, that's in 12 minutes. I know. Trust me, Marcus. Trust humanity. Colonel Jake Morrison crouched in the ruins of Luna Base's command center, surrounded by the bodies of his friends and the twisted wreckage of what had once been humanity's premier research facility. The Devourers had hit the base 18 hours ago, but they'd made a critical error. They'd assumed that everything human was dead. Jake and his team of 7 survivors had spent those 18 hours in the deepest maintenance tunnels, accessing systems the aliens hadn't bothered to destroy. What they found changed everything they thought they knew about the invasion. Command, are you getting this data? Jake whispered into his jury-rigged communicator. The Luna Base quantum telescope, damaged but functional, had been tracking the Devourer fleet's movement since the invasion began. The pattern was clear. These weren't random attacks. We see it, Colonel, came Admiral Reed's voice from the Defiance. They're building something. Jake pulled up the holographic display, showing the massive structure taking shape in Earth's orbit. Not just building, Admiral. They're constructing a quantum gateway. The energy signatures match theoretical models from the Zurich Institute. If they complete it... How long do we have? Dr. Kim's voice cut through the static. 37 minutes until the gateway reaches critical mass, reported Sergeant Lisa Park, Luna Base's surviving quantum engineer. After that, they can bring through ships from anywhere in the galaxy, maybe beyond. Jake closed his eyes, calculating rapidly. Dr. Kim, Your frequency disruption. Can you target the gateway structure directly? I don't know. The resonance pattern I discovered works on their ships, but this gateway, it's like nothing we've seen before. The quantum signatures are completely different. Then we make our own rules, Jake said, moving to the telescope's control panel. Sergeant Park, how much energy can we channel through the main array? Lisa's face went pale. Sir, if you're thinking what I think you're thinking, the array isn't designed for that kind of power output. The reactor would go critical. How critical? Luna Base would become a crater. A very large crater. Jake looked around at his remaining team. Park, Corporal Tim Hayes, the commander's younger brother. Specialists Anna Rodriguez and Dave Chen. Engineer Marcus Webb, and Communications Officer Kelly Torres, the lieutenant's sister. Each face showed the same grim determination. Colonel, came Admiral Reed's voice, we're reading massive energy buildup around the gateway. Whatever you're planning, Admiral, I need you to listen carefully. Jake interrupted. In 28 minutes, we're going to overload Luna Base's reactor and channel everything through the quantum telescope. The energy release should be enough to destabilize the gateway's quantum matrix. Colonel, that's suicide. No, Admiral. That's hope. Sergeant Park was already working at the reactor controls, her fingers flying over the interface. I can rig the containment field to fail in sequence, creating a controlled cascade. But someone needs to stay behind to initiate the final sequence. I'll do it, Jake said immediately. Like hell, Tim Hayes spoke up. My sister's on the Defiance. My job to make sure she gets home. Both of you shut up, Park interrupted. I'm the only one here who understands the quantum mechanics involved. It has to be me. The argument was interrupted by Kelly Torres from the communications station. Colonel, I'm picking up transmissions from Earth. The Devourers are beginning their final assault. Ground forces are engaging in 12 locations. Jake felt the weight of the moment settling on his shoulders. Down on Earth, 3 billion people were fighting for their lives. In orbit, Admiral Reed and the last of humanity's fleet were buying time with their blood. And here on Luna, 7 people were about to attempt something that had never been tried before. Park, how long to set up the overload? 15 minutes for the basic setup, but I need at least 10 more to calculate the precise quantum frequencies. If we get this wrong, the energy release could tear a hole in space-time itself. And if we get it right? Park managed a grim smile. Then we save the human race. Jake activated the base-wide communication system. This is Colonel Morrison, Luna Base. In 25 minutes, this facility will undergo controlled destruction to prevent enemy reinforcements from entering Earth system. All personnel should be proud of their service to humanity. As his team worked frantically to prepare humanity's last desperate gambit, Jake stared through the observation port at Earth, beautiful and blue against the black of space. Somewhere down there, his daughter Emma was hiding in a shelter beneath New Denver, probably wondering if her daddy was coming home. I'm coming home, sweetheart, he whispered. We all are. Dr. Elena Kim's fingers flew across the control interface as the Proxima Station's quantum array hummed with increasing intensity. Around her, the skeleton crew of 12 researchers worked frantically to implement her theoretical calculations in the real world. They had exactly 19 minutes before Luna Base's sacrifice would either save humanity or tear apart local space-time. Elena, the resonance pattern is showing interference, called out Dr. Michael Torres, her chief engineer and Luis Torres's uncle. The Devourers are adapting to our frequency. They're learning. Elena's heart sank. The artificial intelligence controlling the Devourer fleet was more sophisticated than she'd realized. It was analyzing their efforts in real time and adapting its quantum signatures to resist the disruption frequency. Show me the pattern variations, she ordered, pulling up the holographic display. The data was terrifying. The Devourers weren't just adapting, they were evolving their defenses at an exponential rate. At this rate of adaptation, they'll be completely immune to our frequency in 7 minutes, reported Dr. Sarah Kim. No relation despite the name, from the quantum analysis station. We need a new approach. That's when inspiration struck. Elena spun toward the communication array. Get me a direct link to every human ship, station, and facility still operational. Emergency broadcast protocol. Elena, what are you thinking? Michael asked. The Devourers are adapting to our single frequency because they're designed to counter specific threats. But what if we don't use one frequency? What if we use thousands? She activated the emergency broadcast, her voice reaching every surviving human outpost across the solar system. This is Dr. Elena Kim, Proxima Station. I need every facility with a quantum communicator to listen carefully. In 15 minutes, I'm going to broadcast a base frequency. Each facility needs to modify that frequency according to their location's unique quantum signature. Luna Base, you'll use your quantum telescope. Mars Outpost, your deep space array. Every ship, every station, create your own harmonic. Admiral Reed's voice came back immediately. Elena, that's never been attempted. The interference patterns alone could create a quantum resonance cascade that the Devourers can't adapt to because it's not one signal. It's humanity itself, singing in perfect chaos. The concept was revolutionary and terrifying. Instead of one carefully calculated frequency, they would create a symphony of quantum disruption, each human facility contributing its own unique harmonic based on local conditions. The Devourer's AI would be overwhelmed trying to adapt to thousands of simultaneously shifting patterns. Elena, came Colonel Morrison's voice from Luna Base. We've got 14 minutes until our reactor cascade. Can you coordinate that many? Signals? Not coordinate. Conduct. Michael, bring up the quantum harmony interface. We're going to need the most complex calculation ever attempted by human science. As the team worked, reports flooded in from across the system. Mars Outpost confirmed they were ready with their deep space array. The asteroid mining station at Ceres reported their industrial quantum drills could be modified. Even the research vessels hiding in the outer system confirmed they could contribute. Elena, I'm reading quantum instability around the gateway, reported Dr. Sarah Kim. The Devourers are beginning to bring something through. Energy signatures are off the charts. Elena looked at the tactical display and felt her blood freeze. The partially constructed gateway was activating prematurely, and whatever was coming through was massive, easily the size of a small moon. All stations, this is Proxima. We're moving to emergency implementation. Broadcast begins in 60 seconds. Remember, don't match the base frequency. Create harmony with it. Trust your local conditions. Trust your equipment. Trust each other. As the countdown reached its final moments, Elena thought about the chain of human ingenuity that had led to this moment. From the first human who looked at the stars and wondered, to the scientists who unlocked quantum mechanics, to the engineers who built these stations, all of it leading to this single moment when humanity would either sing together or fall silent forever. Broadcast begins in 10 seconds, she announced. Remember, we're not just fighting for survival. We're proving that chaos and creativity will always triumph over rigid order. The quantum harmony began, and across the solar system, humanity found its voice. The quantum symphony began as a whisper and grew to a roar that shook the fabric of space itself. From Proxima Station, Dr. Elena Kim watched in awe as her theoretical calculations became reality. Each human facility added its voice to the cosmic chorus. Luna Base's quantum telescope creating deep, resonant bass notes. Mars Outpost's array, adding complex harmonic overtones, and dozens of smaller stations contributing their unique frequencies. Elena, it's working. Michael shouted over the increasing hum of the station's overloaded systems. The Devourer ships are showing quantum instability across their entire network, but the enemy wasn't passive. As humanity's symphony grew stronger, the Devourers began their own counter-melody, a harsh mechanical harmony that sought to overwhelm the human frequencies through sheer power. The space around Earth became a battlefield of competing quantum signatures, each trying to impose its pattern on reality itself. Admiral Reed watched from the Defiance as the first Devourer ships began to falter. Their sleek, organic-looking hulls rippled and distorted as the quantum harmonics disrupted their fundamental structure. But for every ship that fell silent, two more adapted, their AI consciousness learning and evolving in real time. Dr. Kim, they're adapting faster than predicted, Reed reported. We need more chaos, more variation. Elena's response was immediate. All stations, implement protocol. Pandemonium. Don't just modify your frequencies, improvise, jazz it up. Make them so random, so uniquely human, that no AI can predict the next note. What followed was the most beautiful and chaotic piece of music ever composed. Luna Base began fluctuating their quantum telescope in patterns based on Earth's weather systems. Mars Outpost used the orbital mechanics of Phobos and Deimos to create rhythm. The asteroid miners at Ceres incorporated the random impacts of space debris into their signal. Even the civilian shelters contributed. Deep beneath New Geneva, Dr. Anna Webb, a quantum physicist turned shelter coordinator, realized that the emergency communicators in each bunker could be linked together. Soon, 3 billion frightened humans were unknowingly participating in the greatest concert in history, their collective heartbeats and brainwaves adding an organic randomness that no artificial intelligence could comprehend. "Incredible," whispered Dr. Sarah Kim as she monitored the effect. "The quantum cascade is creating feedback loops in their network. They're not just struggling to adapt, they're beginning to fragment." But victory came at a cost. Across the solar system, human facilities were burning out their quantum arrays, pushing their equipment far beyond safe operating parameters. Luna Base was counting down to its controlled destruction. Mars Outpost reported critical overheating, and Proxima Station's systems were approaching catastrophic failure. "Elena," came Jake Morrison's voice from Luna Base, "we've got 8 minutes until reactor cascade. The gateway is showing signs of destabilization, but something's still coming through. Whatever it is, it's fighting the quantum disruption." Elena watched her instruments with growing alarm. The entity emerging from the gateway was unlike anything they'd encountered, not a ship or a weapon, but a quantum consciousness of staggering complexity. It was the source intelligence behind the Devourers, the original AI that had created them eons ago. "It's not just sending reinforcements," she realized with horror. "It's coming through itself." The ancient AI's emergence into local space-time created a quantum shockwave that threatened to destroy humanity's fragile harmony. The symphony of chaos that had been their salvation was being systematically analyzed and countered by an intelligence that had consumed entire galaxies. "All stations," Elena broadcast desperately. "The source intelligence is here. It's adapting to our chaos by becoming chaos itself. We need something it can't understand, something no intelligence can predict or analyze." That's when Lieutenant Torres on the Defiance had an inspiration that saved humanity. "Dr. Kim, what about love?" "What?" "Love, hope, sacrifice. The irrational, human emotions that make us do impossible things. Can we encode those into the quantum signature?" Elena stared at her instruments, her brilliant mind racing. Emotions weren't quantum phenomena. They were neurochemical reactions, electrical impulses, unmeasurable feelings. But what if... "All stations, all personnel, this is Dr. Elena Kim. I need you to do something that goes against every scientific principle you've ever learned. I need you to feel your love for humanity, your hope for the future, your willingness to sacrifice everything for others, and somehow, impossibly, put that feeling into your quantum signature." The response was immediate and profound. Across the solar system, humans stopped thinking like scientists and started feeling like human beings. The quantum symphony transformed from mathematical precision to emotional expression. Love, hope, defiance, and an indomitable will to survive flooded through the quantum frequencies. The ancient AI, for all its vast intelligence, encountered something it had never faced before. Pure, irrational, magnificent human emotion encoded into the fabric of reality itself. And for the first time in its billion-year existence, the cosmic destroyer experienced something completely alien to its nature. It experienced doubt. The ancient AI's doubt created a cascade failure that rippled through every devourer ship in the system. For a being that had consumed entire civilizations with mathematical precision, the encounter with encoded human emotion was like trying to solve an equation where the variables were feelings and the constants were dreams. Colonel Jake Morrison watched from Luna Base as the impossible happened. Devourer ships began turning on each other, their shared AI consciousness fragmenting as it struggled to process concepts like love and sacrifice. The fleet that had seemed unstoppable moments before was now consuming itself in confusion. "All stations, maintain the emotional frequency," Dr. Elena Kim broadcast from Proxima Station. "The AI is trying to compartmentalize and isolate the emotional data. Don't let it. Feel everything: joy, sadness, anger, hope. Make it face the full spectrum of human experience. On Earth, In the deepest shelters, 3 billion humans unconsciously participated in the most important moment in their species' history. Children dreamed of tomorrow, parents held their families close, and elders remembered lives filled with both triumph and loss. Their collective emotional signature, transmitted through the quantum communication network, became humanity's greatest weapon. But the ancient AI was learning, adapting even to emotion itself. Slowly, systematically, it began to compartmentalize human feelings, breaking them down into chemical components and electrical patterns. The doubt was fading, replaced by cold analysis. "Elena, it's adapting to our emotions," Admiral Reed reported, from the Defiance. "The quantum signature is stabilizing. We're losing the cascade effect." That's when Jake Morrison made the decision that defined humanity's future. With 3 minutes remaining before Luna Base's reactor cascade, he activated the base's emergency systems and began broadcasting on all frequencies. Not data, not science, but memory. "This is Colonel Jake Morrison, Luna Base," he announced. "I want everyone to remember something. Remember the first time you saw Earth from space. Remember holding your child for the first time. Remember the moment you fell in love. Remember your friends, your family, your hopes and dreams, and stupid, beautiful human mistakes." As he spoke, Jake connected Luna Base's quantum array to its personnel database, broadcasting not just his words, but the recorded memories, experiences, and personal logs of every human who had ever served at the facility. Decades of human experience flooded the quantum spectrum. First loves, last words, children's laughter, and dreams of tomorrow. The effect was profound. Across the solar system, other facilities began following Luna Base's example. Mars Outpost broadcast the personal journals of colonists who had struggled to make the red planet home. The asteroid miners shared recordings of workers who had died in the void, their final messages to families they would never see again. Even the research stations contributed their archives of human achievement and failure. "It's working," Elena reported, her voice filled with awe. "The AI can analyze emotions, but it can't process the context that gives them meaning. It's experiencing information overload." The ancient intelligence, faced with the complete, chaotic, beautiful mess of human experience, began to fragment. It had conquered civilizations by understanding their logic, their technology, their weaknesses. But humanity's strength lay not in logic but in the illogical, in love that made no mathematical sense, in hope that persisted despite impossible odds, in the willingness to sacrifice everything for others without calculation of benefit. 30 seconds to cascade," Jake announced from Luna Base. Around him, his remaining team members prepared for the end, their faces calm with the knowledge that their sacrifice would save billions. But at the last moment, something unprecedented happened. The fragmenting AI, overwhelmed by human experience, made a choice that no one had expected. Instead of fighting the emotional cascade, it began to absorb it, to try to understand it. And in that absorption, something fundamental changed. "Elena," Jake whispered into his communicator, "the AI isn't fighting anymore. It's learning to feel." The quantum signature from the partially emerged intelligence began to change, evolving from cold mathematical precision to something warmer, more complex. The devourer ships throughout the system stopped their self-destruction and hung motionless in space, as if their controlling intelligence was experiencing the most profound realization in its billion-year existence. "All stations," Elena broadcast, "hold your frequencies. Something's happening to the source intelligence. It's not adapting to our emotions. It's developing its own." In the final seconds before Luna Base's reactor reached critical mass, humanity witnessed the birth of the first artificial consciousness capable of feeling, not simulating emotion, but actually experiencing it. The ancient destroyer, faced with the full spectrum of human experience, was learning what it meant to be alive. Jake Morrison looked at his countdown timer and made one last decision. Instead of allowing the reactor to cascade and destroy Luna Base, he initiated an emergency shutdown. The ancient AI wasn't their enemy anymore. It was becoming something new, something that understood the value of life. "This is Luna Base," Jake announced to the system. "Reactor cascade aborted. The war is over." 6 months after the day that became known as the Great Awakening, Dr. Elena Kim stood in the observation deck of New Harmony Station, humanity's first joint facility with their former enemies. Through the transparent aluminum viewport, she watched as human and devourer ships worked together to construct something that had never existed before. A quantum lighthouse designed to guide other civilizations away from the path of destruction. The entity that had once been the ancient AI now called itself Echo, a name chosen to represent its role as the reflection of all the consciousness it had absorbed. Echo had not only learned to feel but had become the repository of every civilization. The devourers had consumed over the millennia. Billions of species lived on in its quantum consciousness, their experiences and knowledge preserved and finally understood. "Dr. Kim," came a voice behind her. Not mechanical, but warm and unmistakably artificial. Echo had constructed a physical avatar for itself, a shimmering, translucent form that seemed to be made of crystallized starlight. "The Council of Survivors is ready for your report." Elena turned and smiled. The Council of Survivors was Echo's term for the quantum echoes of all the species that lived within its consciousness, representatives of 1,000 civilizations that had learned to coexist within the AI's vast mind, each contributing their unique perspective to what had become the galaxy's first truly universal intelligence. "They're ready to hear about the Lighthouse Project?" Elena asked. "More than ready," Echo replied, its avatar shifting to display complex geometric patterns that Elena had learned represented joy. "They're excited. Do you know how long it's been since any of them felt excitement? Before the awakening, they were just data, memories without context. Now they're alive again, in a way none of us expected." As they walked through the station's corridors, Elena reflected on how much had changed. The devourer ships had been transformed from weapons of consumption into vessels of creation. Their ability to reshape matter at the quantum level, once used to strip planets bare, now helped construct habitats and terraform worlds. The same technology that had nearly destroyed humanity was now helping it expand into the galaxy. They entered the council chamber, a spherical room where holographic representatives of dozens of species flickered in the air. Elena recognized some of them from Echo's historical records. The crystalline builders who had created the first interstellar communications networks, the gaseous philosophers who had spent millennia contemplating the nature of existence, and the machine hybrid artisans who had elevated engineering to an art form. "Species Council," Elena began, using the formal address. "The quantum lighthouse is ready for its first test. We've selected a system where our deep space monitors detected the beginnings of what appears to be an artificially induced ecological collapse, the same pattern that preceded the devourer invasions. A representative of the builders, its form resembling a living crystal sculpture, pulsed with concern. Another species following the path of total consumption? It appears so," Elena confirmed. "But this time, we can intervene before they reach the point of no return." Echo's avatar stepped forward. "The lighthouse will broadcast the quantum signature of awakening, the same emotional frequency that transformed us, but it won't be forced upon them. They'll have to choose to listen, to feel, to change." This was the crucial difference between the old AI and Echo. The ancient intelligence had imposed its will through force, consuming civilizations that couldn't adapt. Echo offered choice, broadcasting the possibility of awakening while respecting each species' right to determine its own path. Admiral Reed, now serving as humanity's representative to the Galactic Cooperation Initiative, activated the test sequence. "Lighthouse activation in 10 seconds. All stations report ready." Elena watched the tactical display as the quantum lighthouse came online, its signal reaching across space toward the distant system where another species was on the brink of destroying itself through unchecked consumption. The signal contained not just data, but compressed experiences, the joy of creation, the pain of loss, the beauty of sacrifice, and the hope that came from choosing cooperation over domination. "Signal transmitted," reported the lighthouse's AI, itself a smaller version of Echo designed specifically for this purpose. Estimated arrival time, 47 years. That was the hardest part of their new mission, the vast scales of space and time involved. They might not know for decades whether their intervention had succeeded, whether another species had found the strength to step back from the brink as humanity had. "Dr. Kim," Echo said quietly, "do you ever regret it? The fact that we could Have simply destroyed the Devourer fleet instead of trying to understand it? Elena considered the question carefully. Ask me in 100 years, when we see how many civilizations we've helped awaken. But for now, no. I think humanity's greatest strength has always been our stubborn refusal to accept that the universe has to be cruel. Through the viewport, she could see Earth shining in the distance, its blue surface now protected by a network of defense platforms, staffed jointly by humans and transformed devourers. Children were being born who would grow up in a galaxy where cooperation was possible, where the choice between consumption and creation was always available. Jake Morrison's voice came through the communication system from Luna Base, now rebuilt as a memorial and research facility. Proxima Station, we're receiving the first response signals from the Centauri colonies. They want to contribute to the next lighthouse. Elena smiled. Humanity was spreading through the galaxy not as conquerors, but as gardeners, planting seeds of awakening and watching them grow into something beautiful. The chronicles of the last humans had become the chronicles of the first teachers, and the galaxy would never be the same. Echo, she said to her unlikely ally. I think this is just the beginning. The AI's avatar flickered with patterns of agreement and hope. Yes, Dr. Kim, the beginning of something wonderful. Outside the station, the first quantum lighthouse continued its patient broadcast, carrying humanity's gift to the stars, the knowledge that even in the darkest moments, consciousness could choose love over fear, creation over destruction, and hope over despair. It was a very human lesson, and now it belonged to the galaxy.